talk about the low voter turnout for the youth, meaning the 18 to 29-year old ages. Now, this past midterm election for 2014, the the youth voter turnout was at 21.3%. Um, Also, it grew just 1% from 2010. So I'm going to start with Richard on this. Basically, what's your thoughts on it? If we can help it at all, how is this going to? If for some reason, do you think that it's going just to get lower, higher? And also, may I throw this in before we start? That, like usual, the youth vote had they voted more on the Democrat party. So, Richard, go ahead and enlighten us.
Well, there's a few things there. I mean, part of what you need to look at is that low voter turnout in general is looked at as eligible voters, especially here in Texas. They just got through passing new voter registration laws, and it makes it a little bit more difficult for a lot of people to get out and vote. Frankly, the low voter turnout for younger people doesn't really surprise me, and I don't necessarily think there's anything that needs to be done about it. I think most people in that age group are more, more concerned with other things and not as likely to make informed choices about who to vote for in the first place. My concern is the amount of eligible voters that just don't go. Not so much in the younger group, which is actually even lower here in Texas, but eligible voters in general just don't go. They've been kind of jaded with the political process and don't really see their voices being represented, which it's not because they're not voting.
All right.
I think it has a lot to do with two factors. You have one, the fact that the group of people we're talking about have been living under the Bush administration and living under the Obama administration, and they're coming to see the Republican and Democratic parties as two branches of the same rear end. It's not anything that they want to deal with. It's not something that there's not a distinction that they're really seeing between these two parties. They both seem to suck. They both oftentimes will even say the same things and do very completely different things. It doesn't seem to matter who's in charge. The American people are getting screwed one way or another.
So would you?
Therefore,
would you agree that um, having younger politicians now? However, this kind of contradicts itself because we did just get the youngest senator ever elected this go around.
Which
but
is awesome, by the way, and she also happens to be on my side.
Yeah, well, okay. So, would you think that if we had more younger politicians like her, do you think that we'd actually be able to pull out more younger voters rather than seeing a whole bunch of old bald white men?
I think it would help if they weren't a whole bunch of crotchety old dudes.
Crush.
It's a fun word. I mean,
Curmudgeon.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I mean, it would seriously help because these guys are incredibly uninteresting. They don't even know how to speak to youth at all. I think
Since the youth aren't voting, it doesn't matter if they can speak to the youth.
I think that it would help to gain their attention if you could. But to my second point, one, aside from the problems of almost seeing a measure of futility and not seeing an option that seems viable within those parties, because it's very difficult to sift through the muck of politicians and find one that you think is sort of all right, but that you shouldn't trust anyways. Aside from that, you have the problem of the voting system being incredibly outdated. We are using snail mail to get voter registration going back and forth between the registration office and the public. We are offering at we're offering our registration forms at the registration office, and honestly, how many people our age know where that is. And two, we'll offer it at places like the DMV. Maybe you can find one at your school district's office, something like that.
I should be able to
but
vote with
none
a
of-
tweet and a selfie.
But none of these, right? But none of these things are efficient. The DMV is just so well known for its efficiency. None of that is efficient. And it's certainly not efficient to, as we're now doing here in Texas, saying, okay, present your ID, prove you're a citizen so you can register through our incredibly slow process. It can take something like a month. Go through our incredibly slow process. And then now go and present your ID again when you go to vote. It's not necessary. Many of the democratic nations of the world, whether it be Germany, the UK, Austria, Australia, they all have very modern registration systems that are automatic. You, for example, in the UK, you receive a notification of all of those who are registered within your household before the upcoming election. In Germany, you're automatically sent a registration card before you turn of the voting age. In Australia, I believe they do it by tax. No. It's in Canada where they do it by tax returns.
Well, in Brazil and Chile, voting is compulsory. You
In
are
Australia,
required to vote.
in Australia, it's compulsory.
Yeah.
My biggest problem is that we have an eligible voter turnout of 32%. We live in a representative constitutional republic, and who's being represented? The 32% that actually go out and cast a vote.
And truly, of course, this is probably a different conversation for a different podcast, but not even really, and with the Electoral College, not even their say is even being represented.
Really.
And so,
And
now,
compulsory voting to me is not a fix. It's
I
not.
think compulsory voting is an awesome idea.
Well, why compel a bunch of people who aren't informed or aren't interested?
Because in order
That's
for you to
not
have a
help.
representative republic, you kind of need to have.
Why would you have
it?
people?
You kind of need to have it representative.
Why would
of
you
the
have
people.
people who aren't interested and aren't informed choosing who should be their leader?
isn't that what we got now?
Well, it's not.
I
much
mean,
better.
I'm sorry, it's just the same thing, except it's just more represented.
Yeah, it ain't much better.
I mean,
Really,
I don't have any of the statistics here to
We need a better
back.
electorate.
People-
That's essentially what it is.
People quit paying
and I think
attention to
that boils
politics
down
because they've got
to
it in their head that it's not representative of them, and they're right. But if they were compelled to vote, it would be more representative of them. The politicians would have to address the youth. They'd have to address the poor. They'd have to address the business owners. They'd have to talk to all these people instead of just the people that fill their pockets with campaign contributions.
I can see a measure of validity in that now you really do need everyone's vote under a system like that.
So let me stop you now. Why do we think that? I mean, of course,
But I'm
this
still
has been
against compulsory anything.
so.
They
okay.
make you wear a seatbelt.
I don't like that.
Okay. Hold up. So now, 54% of the 18 to 29 year olds, 54% voted for the Democrat Party. Now, this is nothing new. They have always voted for the Democrat Party.
54% is pretty evenly split.
And 43% voted for the Republican Party. There is some percentage in there, but I'm sure that goes towards the Libertarian or the Green Party. So
The Green Party?
or
Green Party.
Who are they?
The ones that get 50,000 votes every year.
so here
Tens of people voted for the Green Party.
now hold up. Now while the young still voted for the Democrat Party, we saw a huge shift in the Senate.
Something that I think should really be pointed out with younger people voting for the Democratic Party is, for the most part, they're concerned with things like education, after-school programs, music education, arts. I mean, that's why they're going for the Democratic Party. They support all these programs that are central
the
to younger
Republican-
people, and they're just That's why. It's not like they're just insane liberals just because they're young.
It's
Well-
because the Republicans need to fire whoever's teaching them how to talk to people our age.
Well, that and who in the hell, what kind of college student like us would want to vote for a party that wants to absolutely put all financial responsibility of the nation on us? What college student would want to vote for a party that wants to up our student loan interest rates? I mean, what possible excuse
But
do you have to
instead-
want that?
But instead, they'll vote for one that ends up ruining the economy. So that after college, they've got debt and no job.
I'm curious about this
Yay!
ruining the economy thing because the stock market is stronger now than it was when Barry took office.
Yeah, and the strong stock market was also
The unemployment rate is much lower. In fact, now it's down to 5.8%, I think. Which, when he
no.
took office, it was around 12.
I think now it's at 6.2.
I just got
Doesn't
5.8 from the
No,
Wall Street
no,
Journal
no, no.
today.
Okay.
The
so I
problem
did
with
not
that
see
is that since, I believe it was since, oh, don't quote me. I can't remember which administration we started doing this. I want to say it was Nixon, but I could be wrong. We started calculating unemployment in a very interesting way. Apparently, after you have been unemployed after a certain period of time, I believe it's something like 2 years, but again, don't quote me because
If you quit looking for a job, they take you off.
they take you off the list.
Because they figure if you quit looking for a job, you must have found a job.
Right. Because
Which
that's
makes
just
sense.
so reasonable. No,
well,
it's
no,
not.
that makes sense. If you quit looking for a job, you must have found one.
Or you must have just started living with your parents again.
Or giving up.
I don't know
Yeah,
about you, but
or
if I go live
started-
with my parents and I'm not looking for
Because
a
the
fucking job,
because the
there's
number
gonna
of
be-
people
there's
the
gonna be
number
hell
of
to
people
pay.
on government assistance has dramatically increased. And do you think that's
Because the
people are all
programs
of a
are more
sudden getting
available
jobs?
now.
You think that people, if they had more jobs, are going to then go to government assistance?
Oh, let me ask you this:
No.
do you think that these people should be helped? The people that are on government assistance?
Well, absolutely. I think that the economy ought to be in a better situation,
Okay.
and then we as human beings help them rather than
Really?
compulsory help from
I
the
saw a
government.
hobo down at Walmart. Go pick him up, bring him in. I'll let him spend the night with you tonight. If you say that. See, that's the problem that us humans don't have right now. Is because we can't rely on ourselves for doing. Maybe here in East Texas, we got a lot of
Really?
churches.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Did the government decide that it was going to go down and care for all the little kids that were coming across the border, or was that a private individual? Because
Now
I'll tell
hold
you
up.
who
Now
it
that's
was.
a party dilemma here. Okay.
How is this a
So
party
because
dilemma?
some government officials say that. Are you talking? What are you talking about here? You talking about Mexico?
Well, we can talk about because it's a great example. You had a bunch of little kids crossing the border, huge number of minors. By
Most
the
of
thousands.
them were Honduran and El Salvadorian
Well,
and
many
Guatemalan.
of them are coming from much farther
They're-
south. Than
most of them were not Mexican.
Mexico. Yeah. You've got a whole bunch of these kids coming from far south of the border.
Okay.
Coming across. Obviously, the humanitarian thing to do is help them. But
Correct.
these are little kids. Sending them home is going to be expensive to us.
Not all, everybody
Caring
wants
for-
to send them
hold
home.
on, hang on. Caring for them is going to be expensive to us. Keeping them here is possibly expensive and maybe even dangerous to us. However, the humane thing to do is to help them. And look how great the government was at doing this. What
Yeah, I know that.
what
that,
aid?
that-
and who stopped
that
them from
Republican
doing this?
blockade in the Senate and the House?
tr-
That
the
really
government's
What
kinda-
trying.
that
what
really
about
kinda
all the
threw whole
private
thing off.
individuals who actually did go down and donated food and toys?
Well, I'm sure there's plenty of
What
them.
about
My hat's
the,
off
what
to
about
them.
the government assistance in case of a disaster? New Orleans. That was god awful. But my dad and my uncle going down there to actually help did quite a bit of good.
But not all of the other government assistance. You can't just throw out all the other government assistance that was sent down there. I mean, we sent our National Guard down there. I got several buddies who went.
I feel as though
I mean-
we have weaned off of
We have.
voters.
So,
We've kind of gone into
Yes.
a tirade about government assistance.
so
and
let's
whether
shift then. This is a good
it should be
shifting
compulsory.
point. All right, so going on to our next topic, I'm going to keep this very, very simple. We all know if you watch Fox News or if you watch MSNBC or CNN.
Love the Fox News.
Yeah, MSNBC and their tens of viewers.
You have noticed that you have hopefully noticed that now not only does the Republican Party have the majority in the House of Representatives, but now they also have the majority in the Senate. So what I want to do is just keep it very simple. I want to start off with Presley, and basically we're going to go kind of over, because I'm sure a lot of us have heard a lot of lies, especially from Fox News and MSNBC. There's been talk of impeachment. There's been talk about who the new majority leader is, and so yeah, let's just talk about the future of the Senate, and I'm going to start with you. Just basically tell us what your insight is on it, what you think will happen.
Well, I think the Libertarians and Republicans ought to continue doing what we've been doing so far. Let the man stay in office. He's helping us. He's very well demonstrating to the American people that his policies aren't exactly fantastic, and I think in the next 2 years he'll make it even more plain, because I think he'll try even harder, because now he doesn't have to worry about midterms or running again. I think that the best thing for the Republican or the Libertarian parties is just going to let the American people really get tired of this guy, because it's worked so far. It really came through in this last election. You guys lost. I won. And that makes me very happy.
Richard.
Team spirit. Even if I don't really like my team
Well,
spirit.
First off, the Republicans don't have that much of a majority in the House or in the
Correct.
Senate. So I wouldn't really expect very much to happen. In fact, I think that if you look at the major complaints about government, it wasn't the president last year or this year. It was the Congress and the fact that they can't seem to get anything done.
If they're smart, what this Republican Senate and House will do is flood the president with bills.
Well,
and he'll veto practically all of them.
Well,
and
the
it will
problem
make him
is-
look like an
the
obstructionist.
problem is that they're not going to send him bills that they just know he's
Well, yeah.
going to veto.
if they're smart.
Assuming that they actually care about doing their job and representing the people,
Well, not
they're
necessarily.
going to try to work with the White House and actually get some stuff done.
Well, yeah, not necessarily
Otherwise,
sending
this
him.
Congress is going to be even less productive than the last one.
Not necessarily sending him bills that he's just going to reject because they know he will, but sending him things that they would legitimately believe are solutions, because now you don't have a deadlocked.
The president has
House
already
and Senate.
said that he's more than willing to work with Mitch McConnell and the Republican Senate to square away things like tax reform, corporate tax reform.
You mean what every
offshore
politician
money
says
amnesty.
always? Why would you
He
ever
had- he
want
had-
to? Why
he
would
had-
you ever want to negotiate with at any time the team
Well,
that you think is losing?
he had
and
the
why would
Republican-
the winning team want to negotiate with the losing team?
He had the
If you've
Republican
got power,
congressman
use
leaders in the White House for a lunch meeting today, trying to talk about what they need to do to work together and bipartisanship, get stuff actually going.
No.
And
What
perhaps
bipartisanship means.
improve the rating of the Congress.
Let me kind of give you a description of essentially how a bipartisan little thing always goes. You have one side that says, I'm going to shoot you in the head. And the other guy says, I don't want you to shoot me in the head. Okay, well, I'm going to chop off your arm. We've compromised.
That's a pretty fair compromise.
It's
All right, here's the thing,
ridiculous.
though. Here's the thing.
Someone still gets
All right,
screwed.
If you look back to the point that the last Congress was basically the lowest rating ever. I mean, they got nothing done, and the people are sick of it. Now, this Congress, you have a Republican majority in both House and the Senate, and frankly, most of these guys are not looking to what they can do this term or with this Congress, with this legislature. They're looking at 2016. You've got people like Ted Cruz and Mitch McConnell just waiting in the wings for their 2016 run, and they're not really so much concerned with what gets done.
I think that might be true, but once again, if they're smart, they'll do otherwise. If they have any sense about them, and they probably don't, if they have any sense about them, what they'll do is they will write up solutions, they will debate, they will argue, they will send bill after bill after bill to the president saying, well, How about this? Let's try this. How about this? Let's try this. And he will end up looking like an obstructionist. And in the event that his decisions, if this is the strategy, that his decisions are then overthrown by Congress, then he's really going to look horrible.
Well, the
But
decision will
that-
be overthrown by Congress.
But that is if they're smart.
So now, okay, so it was pretty tough when Senator Cruz. By the way, for anybody who's watching, Ted Cruz is one of our senators here in Texas.
Whoop, whoop.
And Lord help us. So here's it took a lot of push for him, but people follow him. Okay, whenever he wants to do something, he does it. Okay, for some weird ass reason, it always happens. Now, and that was before the majority or in the Senate, or before Republicans had a majority in the Senate.
I would like to mention that I think having a Canadian Harvard Law graduate is very representative of Texas.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So,
Just saying, I love Canada.
yeah. So here's what I'm saying now. Now that there is a majority, and there is an official majority, it might not be much, but it is a majority. For the Democrats, now we talked about the Republicans. So now for the Democrats, what's going to be? Do you think that are we going to start seeing a little bit of maybe kind of backing off of their ideology and trying to work with the Republicans on it, or do you
It's
see
not
them?
an ideology. I mean, I really just think that they need to concentrate on bills that they can actually make some headway on. Obviously, things like gay marriage is not something that they're going to find any common ground on. But something like corporate tax reform, I think, is a lot more likely that they'll be able to work together and actually get some stuff done.
But see, so now the problem is right now that I see is that, we have other smaller groups in the Senate and in the House right now, and such as the Tea Party, and such as we have people right now also like Republicans. Mostly that are they're Republican whenever they're running for an office, but yet they're more libertarian at heart. So you have all these little tiny smaller ideologies. I will call them ideologies for this that are in there, but you have I don't even know what the count is now of how many Tea Party members are in the Senate or in Congress in the House.
What's happening is the exact same thing that happened to the Democratic Party when the Progressive Party was formed. Theodore Roosevelt founded the Progressive Party. He was a Republican, as I hope you guys know. He could not support the Taft administration and decided that he was going to start his own party. It became known as the Progressive Party, or also the Bull Moose Party.
Yeah.
Well, there was
He
actually a
didn't have a lot
progressive party that was started in New York in the 1800s.
Even earlier beforehand, but the one we all know and love began with this guy. Couldn't get a lot of Republican support. His opinions, anyway, the opinions of Roosevelt were not so crazy whenever it comes to race, at least not so well as I'm aware. But he was all about collective bargaining. He was all about
them unions.
yeah.
Damn unions.
He was all about increasing taxes and things of that nature, the progressive stuff. He couldn't get a lot of Republican support. And over time, the Progressive Party actually tried to run a guy for presidency. They lost. The party fell apart, and what they did is they just figured, well, it's so much harder to build our own party. Let's just merge ourselves with somebody else and take over theirs. Yeah. And that's essentially what's gone on with the Democratic Party, and then it spread to the Republican Party. What the Libertarians are doing today...
First off, the Tea Party did not spread from the Democrat Party over to the Republican.
I didn't say
Well,
that.
when the Tea Party
I didn't
started,
say that.
it was really just some people that were pissed off about the corporate bailouts. And I was pissed off about the corporate bailouts. I mean, frankly, I ought to be a Tea Partier.
This is what we were discussing.
But they just got a little.
Essentially, what
They
the
got
lib-
a little off.
essentially what the libertarians are doing is the exact same thing. They broke off from the Republican Party, have started saying, "Look, you guys are all saying these certain things about the economy, which is great, but you're not going far enough, and then you're wanting to limit people's rights. That's not cool." They tried to start up their own little party, tried to run people for president. It didn't work. The party fell apart, and now they're just infiltrating the Republican system. And they'll take it over. And if there's any good success, they'll even make a home in your party too, which would be nice.
Oh my gosh.
A little soundbite there.
I don't see though the libertarians simply because
I'm telling you, everyone is a libertarian at
I
home.
love the
no,
libertarian
that's bullshit.
thing.
That
As
is
soon-
I love it.
absolute
as
bullshit.
And
soon
frankly,
as you
if
can
I could be a
convince-
libertarian and not have to align myself with those nasty fucking evil Republicans, then, I'm
As soon
going
as
for
you
it.
can convince all the gay people that the gun people are okay, and as soon as you convince all the gun people that all the gay people are okay, everyone in the country is a libertarian. This is all you have to do.
What about the abortion people?
Here's the thing: is that not everybody though
Teach
wants,
everyone about secular humanism,
not
and then you
everybody
solved your
wants
problem.
a small minimal government. Okay, that not everybody wants that.
Well, we want it big enough that it's actually going to be useful, but we want it small enough that it's not going to be a problem.
You know,
it goes to George Washington's analogy about fire. The government is fire. It's a tool. And if you make a fire that's too big, you're going to burn yourself.
So do
wanna
you think
keep
it's
it at the
okay
right
for
size.
corporations to be bigger than the government? Okay, I'm off topic. Let's go back to the Senate. Okay, let's go back here. So, so basically, do you think that? I mean, let's first off, let's make it from all three parties here, mainly the two parties here. I want to say, all right, impeachment. First off. Richard, go ahead and kind of explain so everybody knows and everybody has a clear, educated view on how to impeach.
Well, the articles of impeachment is handed up to the House of Republicans or the House of Republicans.
Now,
You're
It's,
drunk.
it's handed up to the
You're
House
drunk,
of Republicans.
Richard, go home.
I'm not even close to drunk, buddy. You have no idea. Okay, so articles of impeachment are handed up to the House of Republicans or the House of Representatives. It goes to a vote. The House of Representatives votes to impeach or not to impeach, and then once the president is impeached, it goes to the Senate for conviction. If he's convicted, he's removed from office, and the vice president takes over.
so
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
Joe
I've
Biden
always
at
loved
the
Joe
head of the
Biden.
country.
so now hold up. How what is the vote for the conviction in the Senate? How much of a
2/3.
2/3? Now, does the Senate have
Well,
2/3?
that's right.
It is.
Okay.
Now, does the Senate? I'm sorry. Do the Republicans have 2/3 in the Senate right now? No. So is impeachment going? I'm sorry. So is the conviction for impeachment going to happen? No. So I'm glad that we at least settled that.
Well, I don't even think they'll get the impeachment in the first place.
And
No,
even if
I
they
really
did,
don't either.
Even
But-
if they did have the majority,
I mean,
it wouldn't be the best play.
basically
the best
what it
play
would take-
is to let this guy run his course.
Basically, what it would take is for enough Democrats to be worried about their 2016 election that they want to distance themselves from the president. Essentially, what happened
They
in
are
House of
distancing
Cards in
themselves from
season
the
2.
president. Don't spoil it. I haven't finished season 1. Don't start with me.
Well, you
Hey,
need to
that's
get
your
on the
own
fucking
fault.
ball.
Yeah, that's seriously your own fault.
Josh and I are
You
trying
need to
to
get on the
watch it
fucking
over the
ball.
weekends.
Is
okay?
he your boyfriend now? I
No,
mean, yeah.
They're totally doing it.
I
dude.
actually had a guy ask me about that the other day. But
That is time for separation at that point.
Hannah's
in your
going to
relationship.
be there too.
They could just think there's
Maybe it's like
bisexual.
a devil's three-way.
Yeah, maybe so. At that point, thank you
Don't put
everybody
that
for
image in my
watching. I appreciate it, and I hope you keep watching. Thank you.